one. I loved this conversation because this is going to be a Seinfeld story.
Okay.
So remember we were talking about the idea of community. So I believe firmly in this idea of community and how we can, the adjacent possible where we, things that we didn't think. Who thought, like, if there's someone on this call that maybe had this dream of doing voiceover, who would have thought that, like, oh, maybe tomorrow I'll talk to someone who's actually doing it. So community is very, very significant here. So the question for you is, what role have mentors, friends, and community played in your creative journey? And how can we find those same kind of supportive networks?
I love it. So, well, this just classic story of mine, which is when I moved to LA and was sponsored in voiceover, right away I started studying writing. I got into the Warner Brothers Writers Workshop, which was wonderful, and I studied at UCLA. And at that time, it was Seinfeld was on the air. And because I found this job through this guy. I was sick at a deli getting some chicken soup. I ordered my chicken soup. He was standing beside me. This is another one that started it, kind of. And even though my voice was kind of scraggly, I still had my low whatever voice. So he said, when I ordered my chicken soup, he turned to me and he said, "You've got a great voice. Do you do voiceover?" And I said, "Well, I did a ton of it in Canada, but now I'm kind of concentrating on my writing." And I said, "I just moved here." And he said, "Are you working?" I said, "No, I'm just studying, but I'd love to get a little job here or something." And he said, "Well, I have a little production company. I do a lot of videos for musicians. The woman at the front desk, my secretary just left. Would you be interested in that?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Let me just get over my cold for a day or two." I went, he hired me. So now I'm working there, which is so cool. And we get tickets. If you call, you can get tickets for Seinfeld. So, and I was in my UCLA class, I was writing what we call a spec script for Seinfeld. So you write a script. Yeah.
So you were saying you were in LA trying to become a writer and all of this, and you got an offer to be a secretary. And instead of you saying, no, I'm above that, I don't want to be anyone's secretary, I'm an actor, even though you had success in Canada, you're like, sign me up. So that is so key. And I didn't want to just sort of, glide past that. You said yes to an opportunity that ended up leading you to, again, where you're going to consider. But again, big flashing lights on that. It was a
Yeah.
secretary job that you
Yeah.
took and you said, I'm going to be the best damn secretary I could be. And
That's that's
continue.
That's
Sorry.
right. And at that place, no, it's a huge, great point because it's like there's a great book. It's a writer put it out there. It's called The Year of Yes. And what
Shonda Rhimes.
it rhymes. And no matter what you get asked, other than, you like, something that's not appropriate, but just to say yes anyway. So I did. And there I was. And we got Seinfeld tickets. And I went, and I actually went with another person who was in the Warner Brothers Writers Workshop, and we're sitting there. And it's the episode, if any of you are familiar with it, where Jerry's car got stolen, and the guy that stole his car calls him because he had like one of those giant car phones, like those were the phones that kind of started those phones, and so he's asked Jerry if he knew how to open the glove box because he couldn't open it. So Kramer, who's there, grabs the phone away from Jerry and he says, hey, I can tell you how to open it. I actually left my gloves in the box. Can I meet you somewhere and get my gloves? So, and then he went, "Okay, yeah, I'll meet you there. Okay, see you later. Bye." So Jerry just kind of rolled his eyes and it was the end of the scene. Now, I was learning, how to write TV at that time and writing a Seinfeld. And I said to my friend, I said, "Well, that was a stupid ending. That didn't work. Like, what kind of an ending was that?" Jerry needed to say, "I'm going to come with you," or "You let me know where you are and I'll show up there," or "You get the keys back from anything, something." Kramer's going to go get his gloves from the car and Jerry says nothing about his car. Anyway, so I said that to my friend. So, and I think I ended my little diatribe with, "I don't buy it." And I hear from behind me, what do you mean you don't buy it? And I turn around and there's this very distinguished gray haired man behind me. And I said, well, so I told him exactly what I just told you. And he said, well, I don't agree. Maybe Jerry was thinking about it, or maybe he was gonna, in the next scene, he would run out and go follow Kramer. I said, no, he needed to say something to Kramer in that moment if we're shutting down the scene, if we're going to the next scene. So he was like, well, I don't agree with you. And I said, well, I don't care if you don't agree with me. And it was all kind of done with levity, all fine. I get back to talking to my friend before they shoot the next scene. And I hear him say to the man sitting beside him, told you we should have had a better ending. We needed Derry to say. So I heard this and I turned around and I went, nah, 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 nah. I was right. Like that to him. And he went, what's your name? And I said, Eva Almos, what's your name? And he said, oh my God, again. Harold West, not Harold. Uh, Har- oh my
Howard.
God, West.
Howard
Howard.
West.
I'm the executive producer of Seinfeld. And I was like, oh my God. He said, I think you're pretty smart, huh? And he said, you writing right now? And I said, yeah, I'm writing a spec Seinfeld episode. So he said, here's my card. I want you to come and see me. I want to read your, I said, I just wrote the first draft of the script. He said, I want to read it. And I want to give you some thoughts. So I said, okay. So I dropped off the first draft of my script, like the next day or so. He read it within a day. He called me. He said, come on, I want to take you for lunch and talk to you about your script. So he became my mentor. But the ironic, wild, beautiful, brilliant thing, even on top of this, was my teacher at UCLA, his name is Ed Charlack. He asked me to write with him at the end of my classes, right? Because I mentioned a little bit about that before. So we start working together, doing great, getting on shows, doing stuff. And then one day I told him this story. And he said, Eva, Howard West is my manager. Because he managed writers and people, and Jerry Seinfeld. He managed Jerry Seinfeld before the Seinfeld show as a stand-up comedian. So he said, I'm supposed to go see him this week. He said, you're going to come with, and we're going to surprise him. Because I hadn't, I'd speak to Howard like, once every 3 months or something like that. Anyway, Ed walks in, Ed walks into his office, and he says, I have a surprise for you. And he says, what is it? He says, I have a new partner, a new writing partner. He said, oh, that's cool. I want to meet them. He said, she's right here. And I walked in. And this was the guy that started me off and was my mentor. And he started to tear up, and I started to tear up. It was the most beautiful moment. And so you never know who can come into your life to change your life. If we are open, if we say yes, even if we feel like it's below us or we don't do it or we're not sure we can do it, but we think we can learn it to have a good opportunity, just keep open. Things wild and kismet, my favorite word in the world. Kismet, like with Talia and I, things happen. They do if we are open to it.
That's the key. They happen when you're, again, the whole like vibrating, right? We're always emitting energy. If we're emitting that angry, pissed off energy, that's what we're going to connect to. We're just going to get more of the same. So, I mean, Joe Dispenza talks about it as the unknown, right? We have to sort of be open to the unknown. Never in a million years did you think taking a secretary job would lead to your mentor being, the executive producer of Seinfeld. Any lesser person would have said, no, I'm too good to be a secretary. I'm an actor. I'm a writer. I'm this and that. But it's that I just think that's so, so important. And I'll often suggest that people take jobs as executive assistants because when you do great as an executive assistant, you're working for someone usually quite powerful. And, I that's what I did. I was an EA for my boss, and my boss he paid for my school, he paid for U of T, he paid for my CFA, he paid for all kinds of stuff. And he took a chance on a single mom who was just a first year economics student at the time. So you never, ever know. And those are always great people. Proximity is power, which is what we're doing here. I'm bringing people like Lynn Kozak, like all kinds of people into our lives so that we can use those contacts. You know what I mean? Proximity. is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So oh, I love
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's just, yeah, it's just, listen, life is hard. There's no question, but we can lighten our load, you know,
Hmm.
with humility too. And humility is so important, I find, because like you said, we can go, I'm not doing that
Yeah.
little job. You know, when I was finished with that job, I took a job as a PA, a personal assistant on another show. I was getting coffee and typing up scripts for people while I was studying after having this career in Toronto.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I just want to immerse myself. I just want to immerse myself and meet people,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
people.
It's
And
easy for us to stay home because
yeah,
it's easy, because we have these kids on our hips, because we have, it is. It's very difficult sometimes for us to get out of those shackles. And, if the reality is such that, okay, maybe we can't for a couple of years. It's not forever. They do grow up,
yeah, they do.
and we put them to work. And then they can buy us a house one day. You know what I mean? Like, you never
Yeah,
know. I love
uh,
it.
yeah.